Hey, what's poppin', everybody? Let's get into a recap real quick because we finally got back on track yesterday. If you guys saw the NFL video, we did sweep the NFL video. You guys can go check that one out. We did sweep the NFL, our Thursday night slip yesterday, and then we went 2-1 yesterday on our NBA slate. So let's go ahead and recap it. The lock of the day was Bam Adebayo over 28.5 PRA. Ends up finishing with 35 PRA. Could have just done his points and rebounds because I think he had 1 assist, so didn't even really matter that we added that assist line, but it worked out anyways for Bam Adebayo. Got off to a cold start, but dominated just as he should, just as the numbers said he should. De'Aaron Fox ends up hitting that second three with about a minute left in the game, with them down like 15 or 16 or something like that. Super clutch there from De'Aaron Fox. And then Lou Dort got off to a red-hot start. Was shooting like 70% from the field. Was like 8 for 12 at one point. Got absolute buckets. But, you know, if I see that a guy is averaging 4 points per game versus the Clippers as a small forward, I'm going to go ahead and take that under. So not even mad about it. Lou Dort goes for 21 and goes well over his 15.5 points. But that's going to be our 2-1 day from yesterday. Recapping that. So let's get to today, October 28th. Big slate of games, bunch of teams playing today. But I've only got a 3 slip for the video today. 5 slip. If I end up doing one, will most likely be posted on Instagram. So make sure you guys follow me on Instagram if you guys want to see if I end up posting a 5 slip. But I definitely have a 3 slip for today. So let's get it. Real quick, if you guys are new to Underdog Fantasy, in the link down in the description below, I have a link that takes you straight to the App Store where you can download Underdog Fantasy, because you're going to want to hop in on the action this year. They have added a whole bunch of new features to Underdog Fantasy this year, starting with the brand new insurance feature, okay? This insurance feature is a new thing that has been super requested for the fans and the customers of Underdog Fantasy. Essentially, all you do is you click insurance right here. And if you can see right there, all you have to do is hit 4 of these picks to win, but the value does drop down. So if you turn off the insurance, you do a $10 bet, you obviously get $200. And if you turn on the insurance feature, it drops down a multiplier down to 10. But if you miss one of these picks, say, you know, Jameis Winston gets hurt or something, he doesn't end up throwing 2 touchdown passes. But everybody else hits, like Lamar, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, and Justin Jefferson. All these guys hit. You still hit the slip. You just get it for $100. Just goes down a multiplier, which is a huge feature a lot of people have been asking for, so they received it. Also, they have added second half lines now to games. Obviously, it is on. There is nothing up because there's no NFL second half games, but they have added NFL second half. So just like for the Thursday night game, I'll throw up that clip right here. Thursday night, they dropped all the second half lines for that Thursday night game between the Bills and the Rams. They've added a bunch of new features this year. They're trying to improve to get the app better for you guys. Also, when you sign up, if you use code TAKEMYSHOT, you'll get $100 match, up to $100 match and 100% deposit match on your first time deposit. So if you do that, you can deposit $50 to get an extra $50, you know, $20 to get an extra $20. Whole lot of stuff coming with Underdog Fantasy this year. Make sure you sign up with code TAKEMYSHOT. Now let's get to today's bets. All right, today's lock of the day will be an under for the second time this season. We're going to head over to the Milwaukee versus New York Knicks game. We're going to go ahead and take the under on Julius Randle, under 19.5 points today. Today, Julius Randle takes on the #1 rated defensive team in the NBA, in the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, short pool of data that we're taking that from, but you know, data's that at the end of the day. The Bucks are the #1 rated defensive team in the league, and it showed last year when they took on when Julius Randle took on this Bucks team. He went over in just one of his games over this 19.5 point line. He had 32 in their opening matchup last year, then went for 16, then went for 8, then went for 9. Slowly and slowly kind of got worse and worse as he went. So he averaged about 16.3 points per game versus the Bucks last year. How he's fared this year, he's kind of had a better start of the year than anticipated, at least for me anyways. He's got over this line twice and under it twice, so 50% obviously on either side of that. Went for 17, 24, 15, and 24 for a perfect 20 points per game right now. So he's averaging right at what his line is right now. So you'd have to anticipate if his line is 20 and he's taking on the #1 defensive unit in the league, he's probably going to go under that average tonight. As far as how power forwards have fared versus the Milwaukee Bucks, it's not very well in that regard. The Bucks have only played 3 games this year. The data, I went ahead and took both sides of this data because I don't know if Kevin Durant or if Royce O'Neal is technically listed as the power forward. So with Royce O'Neal technically listed, or with Royce O'Neal put into the data instead of Kevin Durant, the average sits at about 7.6 points per game versus with power forwards versus the Bucks. If you add Kevin Durant in there instead of Royce O'Neal as the power forward, the average goes up to 14.6 points per game versus the Bucks at the power forward position. Still well under 20 points whether you add Kevin Durant or not. Forwards are obviously having a little bit difficulty to score versus team, obviously because of Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Giannis, great interior defenders. I went back and looked at the tape last year because I was interested to see how the Bucks defended Julius Randle. Obviously, last year, Brook Lopez was out for like the first half of the year. So Bobby Portis was starting those games. So Bobby Portis was actually guarding Julius Randle for most of those games last year. And they put Giannis on Mitchell Robinson. Brook Lopez is back, so I'm anticipating that they're going to put Brook on Mitchell, and Giannis will be matched up on Julius Randle. So that means it's going to be a very tough night tonight for Julius Randle to try to get any buckets, especially in the paint, which he gets the majority of his points from inside the paint. So Julius Randle's going to have to shoot threes, and if he makes a bunch of threes, we'll have to take that out. So give me a Julius Randle under 19.5 points today. Next up, believe it or not, we're going to have another under. Give me under Marcus Smart, or 12.5 points today. Today he's going to take on this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Now, as far as how Marcus Smart has played this season, he's only gone over this point total once. In his opening game of the season, he had 14 versus Sixers. Then he went for 8, 6, and 11. He's averaging 9.7, so round that up to about 10 points per game right now. The interesting part that I like about that the most is that half of those points, 4.3 points, so just a little bit under half those points, are from drive points per game for Marcus Smart. So Marcus Smart gets about half his points from layups and driving it into the paint. And he's taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley inside, who give up some of the least amount of drive points per game. So he's going to have to live on the perimeter and hit a lot of threes tonight if he's going to want to make up for the half of his points that he doesn't get from being able to drive to the basket. Now, as far as the averages for starting point guards versus this Cleveland Cavaliers team, it's sitting right at about what his line is. They took on Fred VanVleet. He scored the most of any of the guards they've seen this season. He had 15, then 5 from Ayo Dosunmu, 13 from Monte Morris, and 9 from Cole Anthony. Now, that's for an average of right around 10 points per game versus the Cleveland Cavaliers defense. As far as how he fared last year versus Cleveland as well, he went under twice and over once. And in that over, he hit it over by a bucket. He had 2 points, 14 points, and 4 points, sitting about a 6.7 average versus the Cavs. So even last year versus Cleveland, he really wasn't obviously looking to score. That's not Marcus Smart's role, especially when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are scoring as well as they are now. So he's definitely looking to facilitate the ball a lot more. No need for him to score. My anticipation is that Marcus Smart will be guarded by Donovan Mitchell most of the night, which is not a horrible defender. He's not a great defender, but he's not a horrible defender. So give me Marcus Smart under 12.5 points tonight for our second pick of the day. And our last play will also be an under. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do 3 straight unders. We're going to go over on Anthony Simons' 23.5 points today. In his last matchup versus the Houston Rockets, he actually also was the starting point guard in that game. He dropped a measly 27 points on 17 shots in that game, did Anthony Simons. In 2022 as a starter, and I remember some of those games, a lot of those games actually were with CJ McCollum, taking a lot of shots from him as well. But in 2022 as a starter, he was averaging 22 points per game. So you'd have to think some of those games, a good majority of those games were with CJ McCollum in the lineup, and the other, and now CJ's not in the lineup. So he was averaging 22 points per game as a starter with CJ McCollum taking up half those games, and his line is at 23.5, which means CJ McCollum's not there and his average is at 22. He's probably putting up, an extra 2 or 3 shots without CJ McCollum in the lineup. As a starter, he was averaging 17 shots per game, 4 made threes, and 9 attempted threes a game. So shoots the ball like crazy. Houston gives up them 6th most threes to point guards this season, as well as the 5th most points. And you're looking at the list of point guards that they've taken on as far as their point production. It gets a little bit crazy. 23 versus Trae Young, 49 from Ja Morant, 19 from Drew Holiday, 7 from Mike Conley, and 13 from Mike Conley. So starting point guards are averaging 22 points per game versus this Houston Rocket defense. This game, if I'm not mistaken, also is one of the closest spread games of the night. Let me just double check that real fast. It sits at a 4.5 point spread between the Rockets and the Blazers. So one of the closer games tonight. I think the closest game of the night is that Toronto 76ers game. Yeah, so this is one of the, as well as the Charlotte Hornets and Magic game. So one of the closest games of the night on the spread, sitting at a 222 total. So right around that range where they're probably expecting just a little bit amount of points to be scored, but not a crazy amount. So give me Anthony Simons over 23.5 points today versus the Houston Rockets. All right, and some extra plays that I was kind of liking that didn't quite make the video today. Mason Plumlee over 3.5 assists. He's, I think, 3rd or 4th in the NBA as far as centers and assists go. He's averaging about 4.3 a game or something like that, averaging 5 assist chances a game. His line sits right at 3.5. So thought about that Mason Plumlee line. Tyrese Halliburton as well, under 9.5 assists. I think his hot streak with assists finally comes to an end today. I had an extra play yesterday as well with how I'm kind of readjusting how I'm looking at my stats and looking at my numbers. My numbers yesterday lined up with Nicholas Claxton to go under 7.0 rebounds. I even crossed it out in my notes yesterday because I was like, I'm just not going to do it because he's hot. But I did have Nicholas Claxton right here, if you can kind of see under the scribbles. I did have Nicholas Claxton under on 7.0 rebounds yesterday. I think he only had 5 or something in that Mavericks game. So the new data strategy that I'm using is kind of working, and the data saying that I should take Tyrese Halliburton under that 9.5 assists, as well as Mason Plumlee under 3.5 or over 3.5 assists. But I'll definitely post the 5-step on Instagram later today if I end up liking 2 more extra plays, because they still haven't dropped some lines as well. So give me the lock of the day, which is Julius Randle under 19.5 points, Marcus Smart under 12.5 points, and Anthony Simons over 23.5 points for today's perfect 3-slip. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. Feels good to get back on track. You know, if we just miss on that Lou Dort play yesterday, it's all right. It happens. Just with the numbers. That's all I ever do at the end of the day. Once again, I wanted to thank you guys. Over the course of like the last week, we have almost gained 200 subs in just, you know, a little over 10 days of the NBA season, which is just absolutely insane. Thank you guys for the support. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.